I've been thinking about this for a long time, long before I was diagnosed with prediabetes, and long before I started making these videos. There was one question that just kept coming back to me over and over again. Why do some people change while others don't? I don't mean smarter people or people who somehow have incredible discipline. I mean ordinary people like myself. Two people can hear the same exact advice from the same doctor, same nurse. They both leave the clinic wanting to be healthier, but one person slowly changes their life. The other struggles to make those changes stick. When I first became an emergency room nurse, I thought my job was treating disease, heart attacks, strokes, which I did. People coming into the emergency room with blood sugar so high that they were becoming confused. These were the emergencies we dealt with. But after patients recovered enough to go home, I often heard the same promises. I'm going to quit smoking. I'm going to start losing weight. I'm going to start walking more. And I'm going to eat healthier. And you know what? Most of the time I believe them because I think they believe themselves. Most people don't wake up hoping to develop diabetes or heart disease or high blood pressure. Most people genuinely want to be healthy. So why was it so hard? Back then, I honestly didn't know. I just knew there had to be more to the story than simply telling people what they should do. Several years later, I was sitting in my doctor's office looking at my own results. A1C at 6.2, prediabetes. I remember staring at those numbers for a while, and not because I didn't understand them, because I was kind of shocked. I understood exactly what they meant. I already knew what insulin resistance was. I knew exercise helps. I knew nutrition really mattered. I knew getting enough sleep was important. None of that information was new. But then another thought hit me. If I already knew all that, why hadn't I changed? Maybe you've had that same thought. Maybe not. Maybe you've told yourself, I'm going to start exercising on Monday. How many have you said that? I'm going to stop eating sugar or soda. I'm finally going to make better decisions about health. And then, of course, life happens. Work gets busy, you're tired, you skip one day, then another. Long before you're right back where you started. If that's happened to you, you're not alone. There's millions of us. It happened to me as well. And honestly, that realization was uncomfortable to me. I remember feeling a little embarrassed. Here I was, a nurse, a researcher, someone who had spent years trying to understand health behavior. And now I was facing the exact same struggle that millions of other people face every single day, my patients. Looking back, I'm actually grateful that it happened. Not because I wanted to become pre-diabetic, but because it taught me something that no research paper ever could. Behavior change feels completely different when you're the one living it. It gave me a deeper appreciation for every patient I'd ever cared for, because suddenly I wasn't studying behavior anymore, I was living it. After I was diagnosed with prediabetes, I kept thinking about something. I spent years educating patients because that was also important for our role. As a researcher, I spent years reading studies and trying to understand what helps people become healthier. And if there's one thing healthcare does really well, it's giving people information. We explain what diabetes is. We explain why blood pressure matters. We explain how exercise helps. We explain what healthier eating looks like. All of that is important and essential. But I started wondering, is information really what most people are missing? Think about it for a minute. Most of us already know we should move our bodies. Most of us know we probably shouldn't eat so much processed food. We know sleep matters. We know stress affects our health. So why do so many of us still struggle? I don't think it's because we don't know enough. I think it's because knowing and doing are two completely different things. That was true for my patients, and it turned out it was true for me too. And honestly, I find that comforting because it means we're not broken. We're human. Life has a way of pulling our attention in 100 different directions. Sometimes taking care of ourselves ends up somewhere near the bottom of the list. Not because it isn't important, because we're busy trying to keep up with everything else. I know I've been there before. For a long time, I thought the problem was discipline. I thought if I really wanted this badly enough, I would just do it. Maybe you've had the same conversation with yourself. I know I have. Then I started looking at it differently. Maybe the problem wasn't me. Maybe my brain was simply doing what human brains have always done. Think about how many things you do every day without thinking, like brushing your teeth, driving home, locking the front door. You don't have to remind yourself to do those things. Your brain has turned them into habits. And that's actually amazing. Our brains are constantly looking for ways to make life easier. The more we repeat something, the less energy it takes to do them. The interesting part is our brain doesn't really care whether the habit is healthy or unhealthy. It simply learns whatever we practice. If every evening ends with ice cream, well, that becomes familiar. If every morning begins with a walk, that becomes familiar too. The brain isn't judging us, it's learning from us. That changed the way I thought about myself. Instead of asking, what's wrong with me? I started asking, what have I been practicing? For me, that was a much kinder question and a much more useful one. This brings me back to something I spent years studying, mindfulness. Now, before you picture someone sitting on a mountain meditating, that's really not what I'm talking about. The part that fascinated me was awareness, mindfulness, noticing what we're doing. That sounds simple, but think about how often we live on autopilot. Have you ever driven somewhere and barely remember the drive? I have. Have you remembered finishing a snack and realized you weren't really paying attention? I've done that too. Or maybe you've had one of those really stressful days, and before you even realize it, you're standing in front of the refrigerator. That used to happen to me more than I like to admit. One thing I do quite often is snack all the time. And I notice myself snacking even more when I'm watching TV. And I don't know because I try to control it, but sometimes it's in such an automatic mode that I realize it when I'm eating it. Then I have to stop myself. And those little things taught me something. It's really hard to change a habit that you don't even notice. One thing my research taught me, and later my own diagnosis confirmed, is that awareness comes before the change. And awareness doesn't magically solve the problem. I wish it did, but it gives us something incredibly valuable. And that is a choice. Before I was simply reacting, now I could pause or just a second and ask myself, am I actually hungry? Am I stressed? Am I tired? Sometimes I still made the same choice, but at least it was my choice, not my habit taking over. When I first started trying to reverse my prediabetes, I thought I needed to change everything. Eat perfectly, exercise more, never miss a workout, never eat dessert. That lasted about as long as you would expect. And life happened. I would travel, I'd get busy, I'd miss a workout, and I'd eat something I hadn't planned on eating. And then I would think, well, I blew that one. Maybe you've done that too. One bad meal somehow becomes, I'll start again on Monday. One missed workout becomes, I've fallen off the wagon and I'm not going to start again. And looking back, I think perfection was actually getting in my way. What I really needed was consistency. There wasn't one magical one meal that reversed my prediabetes. There wasn't one incredible workout. It was hundreds of ordinary decisions. Going for a walk, making a better breakfast, choosing protein instead of something sugary, going to bed a little earlier. Those decisions didn't feel life-changing. Honestly, most of them felt pretty ordinary. But that's exactly the point, right? Health isn't built by extraordinary moments. It's built by ordinary moments repeated over and over again. That's what slowly changed my A1C. And I think that's what slowly changed me. I also stopped expecting perfection. This one took me a while. Maybe you've done this too. You eat one unhealthy meal and suddenly you think, I've ruined everything. You miss one workout and somehow it turns into missing the whole week. I used to think that way too. Now, if I have dessert, I enjoy it, then I go back to my normal routine. If I miss a workout, I don't spend the next 3 days feeling guilty. I just do the next one because that's what healthy people do. They don't make perfect choices. They simply come back to healthy choices again and again. That was an incredibly freeing for me. Now, sometimes I wonder what would have happened if my A1C had stayed normal. Would I still be asking these questions? I'm not sure. As strange as it sounds, I'm actually grateful for that diagnosis. Not because I wanted prediabetes, but because it forced me to experience something I spent years studying. Before behavior change was an academic question, now it was personal. And I think that made me a better nurse, a better researcher, and hopefully a better teacher. Because now when I tell someone that changing is hard, I'm not speaking from theory anymore. I'm speaking from experience. One thing I've learned through all of this is that medicine and psychology need each other. Medicine helps us understand what's happening inside our bodies. Psychology helps us understand why changing our behavior is so difficult. One without the other leaves part of the story untold. That's really what this channel has become for me. Not just explaining diseases, but trying to understand people, trying to understand why we struggle, why we succeed, why some habits stick and others don't. Because if we can understand that, I think we can give ourselves a much better chance of living healthier lives. When I first became a nurse, I thought my job was helping people recover from diseases. Years later, research taught me something different. Disease isn't only about biology, it's also about behavior. Then life reminded me of something else. Behavior change isn't something we simply understand. It's something we experience. Looking back, I don't think reversing my prediabetes taught me the most about blood sugar. I think it taught me something about people, including myself. If you're watching this today, maybe you're trying to lose weight. Maybe you're trying to exercise more. Maybe you're trying to lower your blood sugar or your blood pressure. Whatever your goal is, I hope you'll remember one thing. Don't measure your success by being perfect. Measure it by whether you're becoming just a little bit more consistent. One walk, one healthy meal, one better decision. Those ordinary moments may not seem important today, but over time, they become the person you're becoming. I want to thank you so much for spending this time with me. In the first episode, we talked about what happened inside my body. In the second episode, I shared the system that helped me reverse my prediabetes. Today, I wanted to share what happened inside my mind. In the next episode, I want to tell you what happened 1 year later. Did these habits last? Did my 1A1C stay normal? What surprised me the most after the excitement wore off? I'll see you in the next video.